Today, I'm going to get personal. I'm going to share the story of how I manifested my husband 22 years ago, how I went from setting the intention to being in the relationship just 3 weeks later. I'm going to share the story and then I'm going to go back and point out the key moments and the energetics of how I was being in those moments in order to be open and receptive to receiving the manifestation so quickly. So my hope is that in seeing the process that I went through, you'll be able to then apply that to your own vision, whether that's manifesting a relationship or any other desire on your heart. So at the time, I didn't know what I was doing and how I was doing this, but over the years and having multiple very quick quantum leap experiences, I was able to see the pattern. I was able to pool all the data and say, oh, here's the process, here's the pattern, here's what's happening every single time when I'm able to manifest with such speed. And then I started teaching that to clients and helping them get rapid results in their lives as well. So let's dive in. Here's the story. I had been in a relationship for 3.5 years. It was a happy, healthy relationship. There wasn't really anything wrong. And yet I was feeling like I wanted more. There was this deeper level of connection and intimacy that I was craving. And I had moved with him to Boston. As I said, we'd been together 3.5 years. He got a job in Boston. We moved together. I was starting grad school and finding my own roots in the city, but we were new to the city, didn't know a lot of people. And one particular week, he went off to a business trip and I went to a retreat center. At that retreat center, there was a labyrinth. So I stepped up to the labyrinth, very excited because I love labyrinths. And I said to my heart, I want clarity on the next steps in this relationship. It's been 3.5 years. What are our next steps? And I started walking the labyrinth. And as I walked, I could feel these emotions stirring inside of me, this vision of how I wanted to feel in my relationship. The connection, the intimacy, the deep sense of being understood and being seen, and really deeply seeing another person and just really feeling that openness, that vulnerability. And I could feel all of this desire building up inside of me. I was starting to get giddy because I could feel like how exciting it would be and how magical it would be and how romantic it would be, like all of the things that I could feel building. And so it was like this white hot desire building inside of me. And as I continued to walk, I could feel this sense within me that was like, no matter what, this is the relationship that I want to create. This is how I want to feel every single day. And if it's with this man, that'd be awesome. We have 3.5 years together. It would be great if our relationship can evolve and grow and become this relationship where I feel this way in this relationship. But if it's not him, then I'm willing to let him go so that I can receive the man and the partnership that is going to create this with me, right? So had an essence for what I wanted, and I let go of the details of who it was going to be. But I could feel, no matter what, this is what I'm going to create for my life. And as I stepped out of the labyrinth with all of that buzzy anticipation and all of that excitement, I didn't have any strategic plan. There was no idea how I was going to create this. There was no thought in my mind for like, we need couples counseling, or we need to go do these certain things together to cultivate this intimacy, or we need to break up. There was no agenda whatsoever. It was just, this is the vision. And then I let it go. I let it go to the point that I actually forgot about the labyrinth until much, much later. That is how much I let it go. So I go home to my empty apartment. He's still in Washington, D.C. I wake up the next morning and I am just brimming with gratitude. The city is beautiful, the leaves, the blossoms, everything's coming alive in springtime, the birds, everything's buzzing and just alive and refreshed. And I am just so grateful. And I call and get his voicemail, as I knew I would, and I just share all of this joy and gratitude in the voicemail. I love you, I love Boston, I love our lives, everything is amazing. And it was nothing like earth-shattering in the sense that it wouldn't have scared him, right? Like we said, I love you every single day, many, many times. There was nothing particularly strange about this message, right? And yet I had shifted. There was this energy within me that was renewed and different and committed to a vision. And that evening, when his workday was done, he called me up, and to my surprise, this is what he said to me. I am 99.9% sure that I want to spend the rest of my life with you, but I am not 100% sure. And my response was, then I guess that's it, because I'm not going to be with anybody who isn't 100% sure about me. And just like that, after 3.5 years, our relationship ended over the phone. I was shocked. And again, I'd forgotten about the labyrinth. I'd forgotten about my grand intention. And I was just suddenly immersed in grief and sadness and shock and confusion, right? And if you've been on my channel before, then you know that I am fully in for emotions. I fully believe that we need to ride the emotions out and let them come to completion. And that authenticity allows for us to create what we want, because when we suppress and repress all of those emotions, they create all kinds of havoc in our vibration. So I did what I do, and I spent the next 3 weeks in deep emotional roller coaster. I was a hot mess, right? I would be sobbing, and then the next minute I would be laughing like, oh my gosh, I have all this freedom. I don't have to compromise anymore. I don't have to stay in Boston if I don't want to. I don't have to do anything. I'm free. I can do whatever I want. So I felt all this possibility and all of this opportunity to choose for myself, right? Like, what do I want? And I realized I do want to stay in Boston. I do love it here, and I'm excited about my grad program, and I could choose to stay for me. And I was grieving, and I was going through all of this emotional wild ride, right? And I was also doing a deep forgiveness practice where I was releasing and letting go of everything that I could think of consciously and anything that I felt even unconsciously, or like just willing to let go of anything that may be needing to be released consciously or unconsciously. So I was meditating, I was praying, I was crying, I was laughing, I was just being present to it all. And after 3 weeks, really riding all of the emotions, I came to a place of peace where I was like ready to start my life, right? It was like going through a divorce in a sense, right? Because we had been living together, and there was just all of this connection. So there was this energetic divorcing that had to happen. And I did it so fully, and I was just so surrendered to the whole process. And after 3 weeks, I felt grounded in myself. I felt just ready to emerge and see what life in Boston had for me. And that night, I had an opportunity to go hang out with some friends at a party. Friends that I had, many of them were friends that I had met 6 months earlier. And one of them was a friend that I had known for years. And I went to the party and connected with my husband. And we had known each other for 6 months at this point. But at this particular party, we had an opportunity to really talk and to get to know each other and to realize that he was the one. He was the one that I had been preparing for. And after we had that realization that we wanted to be together, I had this moment in the very, very beginning where I was like, oh my God, this is too good to be true. What is happening? I was just in a relationship just a few weeks ago, and now this, like, is this a rebound thing? Is this safe? Am I okay? And I had to really take a moment and recognize, okay, what is the truth here? What is my intuition really telling me? And I knew when I tuned into my body and when I tuned into my soul, I knew that this man was my partner. I knew that he was the one, but I really had to tune into my intuition because otherwise my fear and my mind would have sabotaged me. I didn't let it. I stopped, I paused. I didn't create any drama with him. I just was internally like, oh my gosh, what's happening? I have to catch up to this. This has been a crazy month, right? And I was able to say, yeah, intuitively, I know that this is the right direction. And I moved decisively towards him, and he moved towards me. And that was 22 years ago, over 22 years ago now. So let's go back and look at the energetics. The very first thing was the labyrinth, where I set an intention. And I set that intention with just the specificity of how I wanted to feel, what I wanted it to look like, but I didn't put a particular person in that partnership. It was, this is how I want to feel. And I know this can be so challenging to really understand how much detail to add and how much specificity. So you'll have to intuit your way through that. But for me, it was very clear that this is how I want to feel. This is the essence of what I want to create. And I allowed myself to really feel the emotion and the gratitude and the joy of all of that until I could feel it buzzing in my body. And for me, it feels like there's this moment of clicking where it's like, yes, I feel it. I feel it in my heart, my soul. My whole body is like, yes, this is it. My ego is on board. Everything within me is on board. And that's how you create a really powerful intention, right? Because if your ego is in one camp and your soul, your deepest, most authentic desires are in another, then it's like one foot is on the gas and one foot is on the brake and you're doing this, right? Stop, start, stop, start. But I was like congruent with all of it. I was like, yes, this is exactly how I want to feel and what I want to create. And then the next step you'll remember is as I stepped out of the labyrinth, I let it go. I let the universe determine the how. I wasn't planning. I wasn't trying to figure it out. I just let it go. And then I stayed in gratitude. So the next morning as I'm driving around Boston, I'm just in gratitude. I'm just like loving life. I'm letting myself feel all of the vibration that was resonant to the way I wanted to feel in that vision, right? So I wasn't focused on the relationship. I was just feeling gratitude overall, which was of course in vibrational resonance. Then what happened next? He shared that he was 99.9% sure, but not 100% sure. So this is a choice point. This is an opportunity, right? So here's this opportunity. I check in my intuition. It's like, I'm not going to be with somebody who's not 100% sure, right? So I saw that opportunity, took the inspired action to end the relationship. For many people, 99.9% sure is pretty good. A lot of people would have been like, well, that's fine. That's great. Let's do this, right? But for me, I was like, yep, 99.9%, that's not going to cut it for me, right? And so I allowed the relationship to go. I let it go. Then that moves us into like really taking the opportunity, even though it was a painful opportunity, it was a painful thing to say, yes, I'm going to release this relationship. And it put me in this spiral of emotional pain and turmoil, right? But I wasn't suffering, notice, because I was riding it out. I wasn't creating story about the emotion. I was just feeling the emotion. I was letting it move through me. I was letting it all go. I was letting it all out. I was showing up for it. And I was forgiving myself. I was forgiving him. I was releasing all of the dreams and the fantasies. I was meditating and praying. I was doing deep self-care to the best of my ability. While I was also working and going to school and doing all these things, I still was, to the best of my ability, showing up to allow that emotion to move through me so that I wasn't restricting it, right? And then as I emerged from the other side of that emotional ride and came to a place of peace and willingness and readiness to create my life in Boston as a single person, then the opportunity to connect with this other man came and I said yes to it. I could feel intuitively, yep, this is something to say yes to. Then when the sabotage pattern came in, or my mind is like, nope, too good to be true, too fast, too soon, this is too much, I could feel that. I checked myself and said, okay, I'm going to stop and I'm going to reflect and really check in. Is this the desire that is most on my heart? Do I feel completely aligned with moving forward in this relationship? The answer was a solid yes. And so I didn't let myself sabotage it, and I moved towards that relationship. Then the part I didn't share is a few weeks later, my ex circled back around and he said, I'm too late, aren't I? And I said, yeah, you are. Because at that point, I was so deeply connected to my husband and so certain that the relationship I had with him was the match to what I was dreaming of in the labyrinth, that there was no way I was ever turning back. So that is the energetics. You'll notice, like, there was setting a solid intention. It has to be an intention that is really, truly, deeply congruent with your authentic self. It can't be something you think you want or you think somebody else wants you to want. It can't be people pleasing. It has to be true to you. And then you got to be willing to let it go and hold the image, hold the imagination, but let go of the how. Let go of trying to figure it out. Let go of trying to problem solve. Don't see it as a problem at all. See it as, this is the desire on my heart. My desire is my destiny. I get to have this, and I'm going to stay open and receptive and grateful that I'm going to see whatever opportunity comes along, and I'm going to take the opportunity. So then that's what I did. I saw the opportunity, and it was disguised as something I didn't really want. I didn't necessarily want to go through the pain of breaking up and moving our stuff, moving our money, moving all the things that we had to separate, right? It was complicated, but I made the decision. I took the opportunity and moved into the letting go, right? So then from there, again, I did the deep, authentic work of grieving and letting go, forgiving, releasing, surrendering, and continuing to hold the vision for what I was creating for myself. How do I want to feel in my life? I want to feel creative. I want to feel free. I want to feel seen. I want to feel loved. Giving myself all of that, right? I'm going to give myself the love that I'm seeking. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to nurture myself, show up and deeply understand myself. I'm going to give myself compassion, giving myself all of the things that I was looking for in a relationship for that time. And then at the end of it, emerging and seeing this opportunity to say yes to another man, saying yes. And then again, tuning into my intuition when I started to see a sabotage pattern come up of like, this is too good to be true. Okay, well, isn't that interesting that I have that fear of being vulnerable, and I can see that and I can listen to my intuition, listen to my heart, I can trust, and I can move into this relationship. So what I've recognized after this manifestation and many, many more, as I was saying, is there's this pattern, right? It's the setting the intention, the visualizing and really feeling into the gratitude and the joy, the being open and receptive to getting the intuitive guidance so that when you see an opportunity, you can take the inspired action, right? And then once you take the inspired action and you follow that intuitive nudge, you take the inspired action, then you assess, right? You kind of take inventory and you're like, okay, what kind of data have I received after saying yes to this opportunity? What's happening now? Is there anything I need to tweak? Do I still want this, right? Are there any habits or limiting beliefs or anything that's coming in that's starting to sabotage or interfere? And then as you have clarity about all of that, then the cycle repeats, right? So now you're at another intention point and you can re-solidify that intention. Yes, this is absolutely what I want. Yes, I'm saying yes to this, and I'm going to continue to move in the direction of this. So I call this the cycle, the intuitive hustle, because we get the intuitive hit for the intention, we follow the intention, we follow the inspired action, and then we have a renewed understanding of our intention, a deeper connection with our intention. And the intention evolves, right? Because then I went from intending to have this relationship to now my intention is to build this relationship, to build this life with this man who I now have this relationship with, right? To build a family and all of those things. This is what I call the intuitive hustle. And if you'd like to know more, you can learn more in the description below. But I hope that this has been helpful. This is what I've noticed over and over again through all of these quantum leap experiences. And remember, a quantum leap is just when you go from one state of being to another state of being very, very quickly without this stair step. It's just this quick transformation. And it's not something you make happen. It's something you allow. It's something you just step into, because you can see with a new level of awareness what's possible and what's available, and you say yes to it, you move to it, and you surrender to it, right? So you're not trying to figure it all out. You're just flowing and allowing and tuning in and listening to your intuition. And then the hustle part, because I call it the intuitive hustle, the hustle part is that you quickly say yes to the guidance that you're being given. Right? There's no hustle in the sense of like force and push, not at all. The hustle is in, I got the intuitive guidance and now I'm going to quickly implement. I'm going to quickly move in the direction of that. That's the hustle part. Showing up consistently to do what is on your heart to do and letting the rest go. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this has been helpful. Again, check out the description if you want more information on the intuitive hustle or the work that I do. My name is Kirsten Barrett. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.